On grid tonight, the 94th 24 Hours of Le Mans is only a few days away. Who's the favorite to win overall, and what other storylines should we be following? Christopher Bell fractured his left wrist in Michigan, and Josh Berry won't be back with the Wood brothers next year. Will the injury impact Bell's performance, and what's next for Berry's NASCAR career? Supercar star Matt Payne was reportedly set to make his NASCAR debut in a few weeks, but it got blocked. What on earth caused this to happen? Hello to all of our viewers watching here in the United States and around the world. Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. I'm Kobe Lyons. With me tonight are Omi from JB Motorsports and Matt White from Grid Endurance Performance Index. Throughout the show, leave your comments and questions in the chat for us to display, and visit gridnetworktv.com for our latest content. And we have a lot to talk about tonight, so Omi, take away with our top story this evening.
Yes, absolutely, Kobe. Quite a lot to get through. So let's get underway with what is always such a highlight of every single year. And that is, of course, the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Now, this weekend, for the 94th time in history, the 24 Hours of Le Mans is set to take place at the Circuit de la Sarthe in France. This year, we have 18 entries in Hypercar, 19 in LMP2, and 25 in LMGT3 to make up the 62-car grid. There was a surprise in today's qualifying session ahead of tomorrow's Hyperpole. The defending overall race winner, the number 83 AF Corsa Ferrari, was eliminated from Hyperpole alongside both Peugeots. It didn't get much better for the prancing horse, as the number 50 and the number 51 AF Corsas Ferraris were the last two Hypercar entries to advance to Hyperpole. Now, if you look at the three Ferrari entries entering the third race weekend of the 2026 FIA World Endurance Championship season, they sit 6th, 7th, and 11th in the championship. The number 51 Ferrari had a podium in the season opener at Imola, while the number 50 Ferrari had a podium in the 6 hours of Spa. In an article on sportscar365.com, it was reported that Ferrari is planning a major overhaul of updates coming to its 499p Hypercar in 2027. Link in the video description below. Ferrari is also looking for its fourth consecutive overall win in the 24 Hours of Le Mans, photo taken by Jonathan Beach from ACO. Does it seem unlikely that Ferrari will have the pace to contend for its fourth straight Le Mans victory in Hypercar? Good evening, Matt. But first of all, Kobe, I'll let you answer that question.
Well, I'm currently watching night practice off to the side here at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and currently we have the number 83 Ferrari as fastest right now as we get into the last half hour of this. So the qualifying pace may not be there, but it certainly looks like the race pace might. So I wouldn't count out Ferrari at all. I know the start of this season has not gone according to plan, given that fact that we just had a couple of races so far, so a long season to go. But given all of the updates that these manufacturers are doing in this hypercar class, at some point, you're going to fall behind. And as Ferrari, officials stated in that Sportscar 365 article that you alluded to, Ferrari, they know that they're behind 8 ball at the moment, so they're just going to do the best they can this season, and next year they're going to do a complete overhaul by using all of their jokers, so they can try to get back to having the ultimate car to beat. But I think that Ferrari doesn't like they will be the overall favorite. Hopefully it will be closer, because last few Le Mans Ferrari have done absolutely everything right to put themselves in position to win 3 in a row. If they win 4 in a row, that I thought 3 in a row was impressive, but if they can do it for a 4th time, that would be really cool for the prancing horse to be able to accomplish that. I still think they have a chance to go out there, and win overall, but the qualifying pace, certainly isn't anything to be proud of per se. But And this is an endurance race. The fastest car, doesn't always win. So just because someone is fast in practice or in the hyperpole session tomorrow, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to win the 24 Hours of Le Mans. You have to have a good balance of being fast, and reliability is going to be key as well. You can be fast and unreliable. You're not going to make it to the end. But while Ferrari may not have the ultimate pace that they've had in the last few years at Le Mans this year, if they can be reliable and have just a good enough speed and stay out of trouble, I think they could be in the fight. So I would not be surprised if Ferrari ended up pulling this off and winning Le Mans for a fourth straight year.
Well, good evening, everyone. It's always fun when we are doing the show, and in this tonight, it's Kobe's chance to have racing cars on a second screen going around. It doesn't happen often during the year, but it is always nice to have racing cars going around the side of the show. It didn't look great for them, did it, in the qualifying session earlier on this afternoon, sort of the tea time local. Maybe no one in the paddock and the drivers certainly aren't allowed to talk about the magic words that I'm about to say, but we can talk about balance of performance on this show, and perhaps BOP has finally caught up to Ferrari after all this time. But as you say, Kobe, they're fastest in this practice session now, so perhaps they didn't have the qualifying car under them, but have got something going again, perhaps more in race trim. We'll see that. I guess once the green flag flies on Saturday, but it's the French tricolore gets thrown on Saturday afternoon. So it's going to be an interesting race as always. You would feel, and you have to be there once the sun comes up. That's always the thing, is get through the night. We've seen over the last couple of years with weather in terms of fog and rain and all sorts of things, making the night a bit of sort of a couple of years ago, it was fairly an invisible part of the race, wasn't it, because of all the weather. So if they can get through and get to sort of 6 to 8 hours to go and be in decent shape, we certainly know they've got the driving talent to do it, and all three of the cars have won over the last couple of years. So don't rule out anybody at this point in the weekend, perhaps apart from Peugeot. As you say, they were the two cars that missed out on getting through to Hyperpole, which is tomorrow, Hyperpole, in the run for a pole position for a 24-hour race, which means nothing apart from headlines and a bit of prize money. So, yeah, looking forward to the weekend, and you would think Ferrari would be there when the race comes to crunch time.
Yeah, Matt. And one thing I wanted to add, you brought up a good point about the balance of performance. While it's a good thing to find all this success, and we know winning a 24 Hours of Le Mans or any 24-hour race is not easy. It's very difficult because you need everything to go right. But with the balance of performance, like with all the success you have, at some point it's going to come back to bite you. And you very well may be right about the balance of performance finally catching up to Ferrari. We see the same thing is happening to Porsche, Penske Motorsport on the IMSA side of things. They started off, the year looking dominant, unstoppable. Now they have that BOP anchor, dragging down the car, and they're not as fast as they were. So just because one manufacturer is finding a lot of success at one point, it doesn't mean that it's going to last. And since, they have the balance of performance in place to try to equalize it as much as they can. Sometimes the BOP is good, but most of the times it's often not, and some manufacturers end up hurting worse than others. So for Ferrari, they're just gonna have to deal with it, and it may not matter what the BOP is because they may be able to come out and overcome whatever disadvantage they may have this year.
I think on Saturday before the IMSA race at Detroit on Twitter/X, Lawrence Vanford came up with a new nomenclature for a new Porsche, which was the 919 XL, was as part of his tweet. So obviously he felt that they were quite overweight on Saturday in Detroit. Might be different for the WEC, of course.
Yeah, might just be. The weather point that you brought up just takes me all the way back to 2024 and all of those hours of trying to survive the night with quite literally nothing going on. Even though you usually have nothing going on, but quite literally in that year as well. But I guess at least we had an interesting finish come the flag. Right, topping the leaderboard in the first round of qualifying was the number 35 Alpine A424 off Habsburg, followed by the two Cadillacs from Hertz Team Yota and representing IMSA, Wayne Taylor Racing. 3 Cadillacs were in the top 5, with the second Yota entry 5th fastest. On the FIA WEC side of things, it's been a rough year for General Motors, with both full-time Cadillac entries 14th and 15th in the championship. Over on the IMSA side, WTR has struggled significantly in the GTP with its 2-car operation, but they got a podium a couple of weeks ago on the streets of Detroit. Now, last year we saw Cadillac show speed at Le Mans, but can they show up when it matters the most in the race? Do they need a good 24 hours, Matt?
Well, not seeing what the timing screen looks like at the moment, I'm sure Kobe can update us in a moment, but I saw that Jota Cadillacs were very fast in that qualifying session earlier on this afternoon and were sort of in that sort of fight for pole position, as it were, in the session that doesn't claim the pole. So, and they've been fairly fast, haven't they, over the last little while? Of course, they ran into each other while battling for the lead under a safety car last year at Qatar, rather embarrassingly. And I've been in the mix at the end of last year in the WEC races and the start of this one. So you would think that Jota, who have been around the block plenty of times and have won Le Mans plenty of times in LMP2, know what they're doing there. So if they can get the car and the drivers in the right window, then that should be handy. And Wayne Taylor desperately wants to win this race, so they will be throwing all the eggs in whatever basket they can find to try and do so with the WTR team going over there, the only guest entry in Hypercar this season, and sort of waving the flag for the IMSA paddock. So they've got even more reasons to have all of the American support behind them this week. So Cadillac looking fairly good at this early portion of the week, but again, much like we talked about with Ferrari, we'll have to wait and see what happens once we get a few hours into the race and a few green flag hours sort of into the race to see what pit strategies and fuel consumption and all that kind of thing is once we get through it a little bit. But they have been fairly quick in the first portion of this season. It's just just a case of putting it all together and again, much like we talked about with Ferrari before, being there at the end.
Yeah, very important being there at the end. And as I look at the leaderboard right now, Wayne Taylor Racing Cadillac and I believe it's the number 12 from Cadillac Hertz Team Jota. They're currently towards the top, and then the Mighty 38, is like in the middle of the pack. So Cadillac is showing quite a bit of speed in this free practice session going on right now under the lights at Circuit de la Sarthe. Kind of like last year, they have the speed, but are they gonna have the reliability through the race? Are they gonna be able to stay out of trouble and minimize damage to make sure that they can be there at the end? And I said this on our private chat at Grid, but it's kind of strange how Wayne Taylor Racing, for the most part, for like the last couple of years or so, they've struggled significantly in IMSA, but they come to Le Mans and they're towards the top of the charts right now. I just don't understand that, how they're struggling to even do that in IMSA right now, but they come to Le Mans and they're able to show this amount of speed. But I think that has something to do with the culture that, here among the two Cadillac teams at Le Mans. I was reading in an article earlier that Hertz Team Jota, they basically told Wayne Taylor that they want to have the philosophy of one car, one team. So it's not going to be, Hertz Team Jota on this side and Wayne Taylor Racing doing its own thing. They want to bring the third team in together because I said the most important thing is getting a Cadillac on the top step of the podium. So if the Hertz team that's running full time in the WEC is able to help Wayne Taylor Racing win overall, they'll be happy because that's what's most important is getting that manufacturer, the overall win regardless of which team. So I think that could be helping, Wayne Taylor out as well. That they're able to work closely with this team that has the data, that has more experience and laps in this championship, because the ACO rule set and the IMSA rule set, while similar in ways, they're still quite different. The racing you see in IMSA is not the racing you'll see in the World Endurance Championship races, so it's quite a bit of difference. So I think that both of these two teams working together will really benefit them as well. In just 3 cars instead of 4. I know the Action Express team has been running Le Mans the last few years, but it seemed like that was kind of, a bit of a distraction for them on the IMSA side of things. And, we saw Action Express win the last time out on the streets of Detroit. So things are going well for them on the IMSA front, but it really seemed like, Le Mans was a little too much for them to handle. And some people even criticize Wayne Taylor Racing's, 2-car program in IMSA, saying that the Le Mans program will potentially weigh them down as well. But it's good to see Wayne Taylor flying the flag strong for IMSA, and hopefully Hertz Team Jota can have a good run, because I'm sitting 14th and 15th in the championship is obviously not good at all. But at the end of the day, kind of like the Indianapolis 500, I think these teams, that are struggling right now in the championship after 2 races, they won't even care about the championship, come Saturday afternoon in France, and because they only care about winning the most prestigious sports car race in the world overall. That's the only thing that matters. If they win Le Mans, don't do anything else the rest of the year in the World Endurance Championship, I think they'll be pretty happy with the way things are going, because we see in the IndyCar side of things, when the green flag drops for the Indy 500, those teams don't care about the championship. They're not even thinking about points. They just want to be holding the Borg Warner Trophy and sipping the milk in victory lane. I believe that's the same philosophy when it comes to Le Mans. We don't care what we did the first 2 races of the year. We don't even care where we are in the championship. If we win Le Mans, it's a good season, regardless of what happens before or afterwards.
Yeah, it honestly feels sometimes very weird because at times we can forget that this is a part of the championship just because of how prestigious and how much attention goes into an event like the 500 or like the 24 Hours of Le Mans, where even if you may not watch IndyCar or in this case WEC as a whole, you come together to watch this specific race, and what a race it promises to be when it comes to this year. I guess it does bring up the question though, Kobe, what other hypercar manufacturers where do you think they'll be when it comes to the order? So we're thinking like BMW, Aston Martin, Toyota, Genesis. Where do you think they'll all be in the pecking order come this weekend?
Well, I guess I'll start with BMW. The last time we had a World Endurance Championship race for the 6 Hours of Spa, it ran extremely well. They ended up winning overall, with Robin Franz, Rene Rast, and Sheldon Van der Linde. Yeah, it was a great race for them. And also the sister car got on the podium as well. Kevin Magnussen, Raffaele Marciello, and Dries Van Thor. So BMW, they completely had Spa locked down, but the 24 Hours of Mans is a different animal. And looking at where they are right now, the BMWs are right in 9th and 10th right now in practice with about 5 minutes to go with the number 83 Ferrari. Of course, a Ferrari still at the top. So BMW is right in the thick of things right now, and I'm not sure how competitive they'll be in the race, but they had a good package last time out at Spa, and Spa's a low downforce track. A lot of teams choose to run their Le Mans Aero kit at Spa because as a tune-up for this race. So they were strong there, and I guess that maybe you can say that this also means they'll be strong at Le Mans. But right now, it looks like they have some work to do to unlock some of the speed. And Aston Martin, it honestly didn't dawn on me until now that they're the only car in the hypercar class that does not have hybrid power. Yeah, that honestly I've honestly never thought of that. I don't know why I didn't particularly know that before, but it's really interesting to me that that they don't have any hybrid power. And at the moment, the number 007 is sitting 8, so not, and then the number 009 is 12. So to be in the middle of the hypercar pack like that, no hybrid power. Second year of this program, really good for the Aston Martin Valkyrie. We really like to see that run well, because that car is a fan favorite because of the sound, and it would just be good to see them have a great run. And Toyota, we know that coming into this year, they basically brought a brand new car to the World Endurance Championship after their struggles last season, because that was not the Toyota that we were used to seeing. Got off to a good start at Imola with Sebastian Buemi, Brendan Hartley, and Ryo Hirakawa winning the season opener at Imola. Yeah, so it showed the Toyota had some speed, and then Spa, not a good run for that car, and then the other Toyota team, they have a little bit of work to do to catch up to their sister car, but I think Toyota, they can have a nice consistent run. Looking at where they are right now, as we have just under 4 minutes to go in the night practice. The number 7 Toyota is 5th fastest, and the number 8 Toyota is 7th fastest. So Toyota is like right up there. And given their history in this race, it would not, and the amount of speed they showed at Imola, it would not surprise me if they're in the mix as well. And then with the new Genesis program, it's basically anyone's guess, right? Because this is a brand new manufacturer taking on Le Mans for the very first time. And so yeah, they may have some flashes here and there with speed, but the biggest question with the new car, how reliable is it going to be? And that's the biggest question. I'm not even sure if the Genesis team knows how reliable their car is going to be. And looking at where they are right now in the championship, the Genesis team is towards the bottom right now. And that honestly is not surprising, given that it is a new program. They're just getting up to speed now, and I also saw something else interesting about Genesis. I believe the team principal was this prototype program was speaking to the media this week about its future in IMSA. And at first, Genesis, they were supposed to be in IMSA next year after debuting in the World Endurance Championship, and then next year became the Sailing 6 Hours of the Glen, because they wanted to get a year under their belt. And now the Sailing 6 Hours of the Glen have become not even 2027, that 2028, at the earliest. And then they were like citing that Acura's withdrawal and, a whole bunch of other things. So not really sure what's going to happen on the IMSA side of things. For Genesis, I know I've talked about this a lot on this show within the last year or so about how disappointing it is that you can have all these manufacturers, in the World Endurance Championship hypercar class, but when it comes to the IMSA GTP class, it's like nobody wants to be a part of it. I think it's, really sad from the American perspective, but I also understand why manufacturers, choose to prioritize Le Mans first before even giving a consideration of going racing in IMSA's GTP class, because, Le Mans itself is, bigger than any race on the IMSA calendar, and it's the granddaddy of them all. So I do get why they prioritize that, because I know Ford is going to be coming in next year as well, and also McLaren is going to be joining the fight at Le Mans. So that's going to be 4 new entries coming to Le Mans in 2027, and then we'll see if Ford or McLaren will decide to come to IMSA at any point in 2028. But on the hypercar side of things are looking really, really good right now for the future of the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
Yeah, I feel like some of those manufacturers you touched on there are going to be all in play if they can get through the night and have a fast car. BMW look like they've got some speed in this early part of the week. Kind of sort of touched on Alpine. They've been fast at the start of this season. Of course, won at the back end of last year at Fuji. So that program is getting better and better all the time. And with Peugeot falling off, the French on-site fans would want an Alpine win if they can't get one for a Peugeot. So there's that. Aston, I agree, Kobe. They're kind of where they probably would want to be a year and a bit into this program. We've seen that car go well in IMSA as well. So they're building something nice there. And again, the team is well versed in what they do. So again, if they can be in play later on in the race, then they've got a chance. Genesis, again, I think it's just a learning year this year to come back strongly next year. I guess we've all on this network, including on this show, talked about Jamie Chadwick a hell of a lot in the recent past. So it'd be nice to see her have a good run. So yeah, there's plenty of other manufacturer interest away from Ferrari being slow or sandpacking, as we've sort of skirted around the discussion already.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree with what you've both just said in terms of all of that. I think we've got some great contenders. Say that again?
Sorry, very itchy eyes tonight. I apologise.
I mean, I feel like I'm falling half asleep as well. I've had exams and all sorts today. So, yeah, very much looking forward to sleep. But we've still got quite a bit to get through before that comes around, including a very great storyline that we have coming out of today. In LMP2, a familiar name set the fastest lap time, Dorian Pan, in the number 30 Dairy Queen team. Pan set an impressive lap that was 0.567 seconds faster than the competition. In a recent article on the sportscar365.com website, Pan made it clear that she aims to prove to Peugeot that she's worthy of a future hypercar seat. Link in the video description below. A couple of months ago, Pan was named a Peugeot development driver after winning last year's F1 Academy title. Now, Matt, how impressed are you with Pan's qualifying lap to basically lock her team into Hyperpole? And do you believe she has what it takes to become a factory driver at the highest level of sports car racing?
I think the three of us, and certainly some of our regular viewers, will have watched Dori Pan for a while coming through the system, and we saw how good she's been in F1 Academy over the last couple of years. Yes, I know, very different type of rating to what this is, but she is very, very talented. Of course, she's a Mercedes in the Mercedes system for Formula One as well, and ran the Merc colours in F1 Academy. So all of these manufacturers wouldn't be putting their support behind her if she was slow. Let's put it that way. And great for the home support to have Dorian Pan going so well in this early part of the week. And it'll be a great story if let's say in all three classes, if we can get Pan, Wadu, and Chadwick all on the podium at the end of the day on Sunday, that would be something special for female participation, wouldn't it? So, let's hope that she and that team can continue this strong start to the week. But very, very impressive today.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's surprised by Dorian Pan's qualifying lap. It was extremely impressive. Not the fact that she was just the fastest in LMP2. It was the fact that she was over half a second faster, because that is, she was absolutely flying out there. And I was reading, an article once again, that you mentioned, Omi, on Sports Car 365 about Dorian Pan and where she is right now in her career. It doesn't seem like, things are going to be moving forward on the single-seater side, at least for now. It seems like her focus, is trying to get into sports car racing, which, that's where she come from before she got into single-seater, but she did credit single-seaters and, helping her become a much better driver, because these, downforce cars and single-seaters. And, I believe it's going to help. It's obviously going to help out in prototype, because Dorian feels like she is a completely different and much improved driver, since she decided to get into single-seater racing. And when she was able to get back in the prototype, it just made her better overall. And I think at some point she is going to be a factory driver, whether it's from the Peugeot team or someone else, because she was just really good, extremely fast. I remember even before she got into, the F1 Academy racing and all of that. And she was on, I believe it was in GTD at Petit Le Mans one year, and she actually outqualified the I don't know about qualified, but I remember she was at the front during the race. She was ahead of all the GTD and GTD Pro drivers. And when you think about all of the drivers in GTD Pro, the caliber of drivers, those are some of the biggest names in factory GT racing across the world. And Dorian Pan, she was ahead of all of them, even cars that were not in her class. So that was the day I'm like, Dorian Pan, she is the real deal, and she is something special. And she keeps doing what she's doing, she's going to become a household name in sports car racing. And we'll flash forward a few years, and she is absolutely a household name in sports car racing. And I would not be surprised in maybe a year, 2 or 3, if she's in the hypercar class competing for overall wins. But dare I say, gentlemen, no disrespect to the team, but I hope she's with a different manufacturer.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's basically where she kind of came from. She was already very much a proven driver. She came to F1 Academy. It would have given her a lot of confidence leaving the series as a whole, and of course a lot more popularity. She's now taken it back, and completely her goal is going to be to get to the top level of sports car racing, because quite literally, I mean, the whole time she was in that F1 Academy series, we always knew that it was always sports car. She wasn't going to take the Abby Pulling routes, try and continue in single seaters. We always knew that it was most likely going to be a return straight back to sports car, which is why she didn't really get much of a proper reward like some of the others have got. Of course, she got an F1 test, but in terms of directly from F1 Academy, it wasn't a fully funded seat in GB3 or Marta Garcia, what she had, a fully funded FRECA seat the year prior. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to follow her, and let's hope it shall continue seeing Dorian Pan at the front. Okay, we've touched on hypercars and also LMP2s. Let's take a look at the LMGT3 class. And Kobe, what teams and drivers specifically are you going to be paying close attention to when it comes to this weekend?
Well, I know I already said, when you come to Le Mans, you're not going to be thinking about the championship at all. But I'm actually going to be paying close attention to the championship leaders right now in LMGT3, which I believe that is that number 92, the Ben Manthai race, and Porsche, Richard Lees, Ricardo Pera, and Yasser Shaheen. I know they have a pair of podiums, start off the season at Imola and Spa. And just looking at the entire, full-time roster for LMGT3, there's a lot of inconsistency so far. So it's basically anybody's game when it comes to the championship. But since those three are out front, leading after 2 rounds. I wonder how that's going to impact, some of their thinking and their strategy. They're in the race. Like, yeah, we want to go all out for the win at Le Mans, but at the same time, we're leading the championship early. And if we are able to, get out of Le Mans, have a good point stay these 24 hours, we can, get on with the rest of the season, and be the ones to beat. But looking at other entries in the class, I'm going to be paying close attention to the TF Sport Corvette, the number 33 of Nicky Casper, Johnny Edgar, Ben Keaton. I think that's one of the stronger driver lineups that we had here. But the fastest car from the LMGT3 from this night practice session that just ended was the number 32 Team WRT BMW, Augusta Farfus, Sean Gallel, and Darren Luong. That's another car we're gonna have to pay attention to. And I also think the Harder Racing Aston Martins, we already talked about their hypercar program, but their LMGT3 program, is really good as well. Have two strong driver lineups in Johnny Adam, Dudu Barrichello, Gray Newell, and Mattia Drudy, Ian James, and Zachary Robichon. Really great race car drivers. And it's also wonderful to see, the diversity we have in the LMGT3 class, whether it's Ferraris, Porsches, the Ford Mustangs, the Lexus, McLarens. We have a whole bunch of different manufacturers here racing, trying to get a class win in the 24 hours of Le Mans. It's really hard to pick a winner in LMGT3. Honestly, I don't know where we would go in that class, because it's just extremely competitive, and it's anyone's guess who's going to be the favorite to get it done.
Yeah, can't disagree with a lot of what you said there, Kobe. I think the Ben Keating 33 TF Sport Corvette is definitely up there. A lot of what goes on in GT3, especially at Le Mans, is how well your bronze graded driver can go. Every car has to have a bronze graded driver in it, and then you can decipher between what you have for the other teammates. And Ben Keating is like bronze plus, isn't he? He's the fastest gentleman driver pretty much in world motorsport at the moment. We've seen that in GT racing and in LMP2 when he's dabbled in that and has had a lot of success. So the 32 BMW, as you mentioned, the Leung Galeo Farfus car, the 33, as we both talked about there, the Keating Edgar Katzberg car. I would also throw into the mix, I mentioned her before, Lilo Wadu, who always goes well here. AF Corsa are always in the mix. She's with Castidio Toledo and Riccardo Agostini. So that might be a bit of a smoky for a podium. And the other one I wanted to mention as I look through the entry list in front of me is the number 21 AF Corsa. They have the Vista AF Corsa Ferrari, another Ferrari. Francois Heriot, Simon Mann, and Alessio Rivera. They have been very, very quick as a trio over the last couple of years in that team. So, but as you say, Kobe, bullets from everywhere. There's all of the manufacturers in there, and pretty much fairly all of them. You look down the whole entry list, and you look at the driver lineup, what car in, what the teams are running in, and you go, well, yeah, they've got a chance of getting a podium, and that sort of goes for everybody. So weather, crashes, all of those things that go through the 24 hours, and we've seen drama right at the end, have we not, over the last couple of years? So you've got to be there, as we've talked about already on the show a couple of times. You've got to be there at the end, and it'll be through for GT3 as it always is.
Yeah, for sure, Matt. And I know it just said in LMGT3, I'm glad we don't have to pick a winner for that one, but for the overall, I think it's time that we at least give it a shot to pick a winner for the 24 hours of Le Mans.
Okay, let's do that now. Pick a winner does slide in for this is the only WEC race that we do for pick a winner on the whole year, because it's the Le Mans 24 hours. There's the point standings as it is from last week. More pick a winner stuff over the weekend. You can catch up on that on social media, but this is what we'll do for now. Let's bring up the old entry list again. I am going to go for the home team. I think Alpine will get a win, and I'm going to pick the 36 car of Victor Martins on debut. Jules Gounon, and Fred Makovicky. They're my pick for the win at the weekend.
That's a really good pick there, Matt. Alpine's been showing a lot of speed around this circuit, and it would be very special, for a French team to win on French soil in the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Also be swan song as well. This Alpine, this Alpine program is going away, so I'm sure there would be a lot of waterworks going on if we get the Sunday afternoon and they end up going out on top, so to say. I know there's talks right now for this for at least the team to continue in a different form, but as regard to a factory Alpine program, this team is unfortunately going to be going away at the end of the season. And I may change my pick depending on what's going on in qualifying. But for me, I think I'm going to go with the number 8 Toyota for now. Sebastian Buemi, Brendan Hartley, and Ryo Hirakawa. I know it's been a few years since Toyota has won at Le Mans. I know in the last few years or so, they've kind of taken a step back in regards to performance. But I think that number 8 Toyota has what it takes to potentially get the overall win. Number 7, I don't really feel as confident in them because they got a lot of problems going on right now. And one of them was that, it could be a big shakeup with their driver lineup because Ryo Hirakawa in the number 8, there's rumors that he could actually be going to Formula One next year with Haas and replacing Esteban Ocon in the driver lineup. As we know, that's the Toyota Gazoo Racing Haas F1 team now, and Toyota wants to get their guy, in an F1 seat. So if it's going to happen for Hirakawa, he may go to Haas. And then Mike Conway also saw rumors that he's going to be out as well from Toyota, and then we can see Kevin Estre take his place on loan from Porsche. So silly. I know we're going to talk a little bit about NASCAR silly season later in the show, but overall, in the World Endurance Championship, Hypercar Class, IMSA, GTP side of things, silly season is just beginning. It's going to be just going to be a lot going on. And Omi, you want to give it a shot for pick a winner?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I didn't even know I was on the leaderboard, if I'm honest. But it seems like one of my appearances earlier on this year, I must have guessed something correctly, and I must have been able to get my way on, which is fantastic. So I'll try and increase that points total. I'm going with the number 8 Toyota as well. I think I don't really need to add any reasons. I think you did a good job, Kobe, of going through them all. But yeah, that's what I'm going for this 24-hour of Le Mans.
And Adam is going with you guys as well. I mean, it's a fairly safe pick. I've gone a bit broadside with mine, but we'll see. And as with every pick a winner race, you've got up until the race starts to lock your pick in. Use the hashtag pick a winner across all of the Grid Network TV social media. And you'll get that pick in and for others across the weekend. Adam also says, hi, gang, beyond ready for the 24 hours of the weekend. Always an incredible race. And before we get away from WEC-related news, I am hearing on the grapevine that on Friday, we are going to get an announcement that might bring the WEC back to the UK in 2027.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Hello,
Yeah, also
everyone at Silverstone.
yeah, it would be nice to see the 6 hours of
About
Silverstone.
40 minutes that way from where I sit right now.
So I guess you'll be at Silverstone when that event
Absolutely,
happens, right?
with bells on.
It would be nice to see the 6 hours of Silverstone back. I always like watching the World Endurance Championship races there in the past, and something else that's coming on Friday. It's been rumored that Genesis is going to announce a GT3 car. So that will be nice to see another manufacturer in the GT3 ranks.
Yeah, WEC, Silverstone, I just love it. I mean, quite literally, the attention the European Le Mans Series got last year was absolutely extraordinary. Yeah. So if we get WEC coming back, I just don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I would definitely try and get there if motorsport schedules allow it.
And if they put them together like they used to, where we had the ELMS race on the Saturday, out of the heritage, the old pits up by Cops, and then the World Championship down in the new pits, then it's an amazing ticket. It's the best thing we've had in the UK. Haven't had it here since pre-COVID, or post-COVID, should I say. 2019 was the last time they came together. So, yes, we are hoping that is going to be the announcement on Friday afternoon.
Yep. We are absolutely hoping. Well, we've spent about 40 minutes discussing Le Mans. I mean, it is such a big event and such a big race. So many different storylines. We're going to take a bit of a U-turn now and move over as I nearly get attacked by a fly. But we're going to move over to our second story here of this evening. Now, yesterday evening, Joe Gibbs Racing announced that Christopher Bell suffered a fractured left wrist in a scary accident at the Michigan International Speedway. On lap 148 of the NASCAR Cup Series race in the Irish Hills region, Chase Elliott lost control of his number 9 Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet, entering turn 4 and turned hard right into Bell's number 20 Toyota. Then Bell took a direct impact nose first into the safe barrier at 200 miles per hour. Elliott and Bell's car were heavily damaged, but both drivers were able to walk away. The impact to the wall was so severe that it broke the wall, and NASCAR officials had to red flag the race to repair it. Now, Bell spent an extensive amount of time in a infield care center before he was checked and released. Despite the fractured left wrist, he's been cleared to race this weekend at Pocono Raceway. According to NASCAR's Hauler Talk podcast, while they won't release the official number, Bell's crash was the hardest hit of the next-gen car era and the hardest hit in NASCAR in the last 10 years. Bell thanked everyone for being concerned about his well-being and expressed gratitude for all the safety standards in place. Photo taken by Rachel Horton from NASCAR Digital Media. Now, Matt, what was your initial reaction to Bell's scary impact? And do you expect the decision to race through a broken wrist to hurt? Will it hurt his on-track performance, do you think?
Well, first of all, thankful that he got out of that with just a broken wrist, because that was without fail one of the biggest shunts we've seen in a long time in any form of motorsport, and certainly in NASCAR one of the hardest hits we've seen in a long time. Thank goodness for safer barriers. That is one thing we can say, because if that had been a concrete wall or even in the last generation of car, we might be talking about a very different situation. So thank goodness the NASCAR safety standard is so high, and Bell was able to get out of it fairly unaided and then walk to the ambulance and has only come away with a broken wrist. So hopefully he will be okay. I mean, I called that, as we always do on the Ultimate Sports Media Network. That was my part of the call, and I thought from the live shot from the blimp that he was in the air when he hit the wall. It went that quickly up the racetrack. I thought he'd been vaulted by Chase Elliott and put into the air, but the low shot was very different, and he was actually still on the ground. But the rate of speed that it went in the middle of 3 and 4 there, it did look like he'd got airborne. So it could have been even worse if that had happened. But good to see that he's okay with a damaged wrist. Shame, really, because he's been knocking on the door the last few weeks of getting a win. Was in play at Nashville and was fairly competitive at Charlotte too, and had just been sort of building into that race at Michigan at the weekend to be up there towards the front. So real shame for Chris. He's fairly safe in terms of getting himself into the chase, more than fairly safe, in fact, unless he has an absolute horror show over the next 4 or 5 weeks, which could happen with a damaged hand. He'll be safe, and he should be back to full fitness, when it really comes to the crunch, when the chase begins, of course, at the beginning of September. So get well soon to Chris Bell, and thankfully that wasn't any worse than what it was on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was just horrible when we saw it, but it could have been so much worse. And luckily, it was not. Now, earlier this morning, during a virtual press conference, we learned some major NASCAR silly season news. Josh Berry announced that he will not return to the number 21 Wood Brothers Racing Ford next year in the Cup Series. He admitted that he found out yesterday, and he'll start working on his 2027 plans immediately and see what his best options are. In 2025, Berry joined the Wood Brothers after racing full-time for 2 years with JR Motorsports in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. Once Berry finally made it to Cup level after cutting his teeth on short tracks across America for years, many had high hopes for the grassroots racer. His Wood Brothers Tencher got off to a good start last year when he won his first career race of the Cup Series at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, which qualified him for the postseason under the previous format. In the round of 16 last year, Berry made a quick first round exit after scoring 3 consecutive last place finishes, and things haven't gone well for him since. At the moment, Berry is 30th in points, and in 11 of 15 races, he has finished 26th or worse with 4 DNFs. Now, in the statement you see on screen, the Wood brothers said, "We thank Josh Berry for all he's done for the Wood brothers Racing and our partners over the last 2 seasons. Josh has been a great teammate, and we look forward to a strong finish to this season. We wish Josh all the best moving forward. We will announce who'll be driving the number 21 Ford Mustang Dark Horse in 2027 soon, and we are excited for what lies ahead for Wood Brothers Racing." Are the Wood brothers making a good decision to move on from Josh Berry, or does the lack of performance from the number 21 go beyond the driver, Matt?
Well, I thought when he got the seat, it was a great pick, and he would be one of those guys that will be in that ride for some time. It turns out it's not going to be that long at all. It's not been a great start to the season for him. It hasn't been a great start to the season for I say start, we're in June, first half of the season. For Ford as a whole, they've just, apart from Ryan Blaney's win at Phoenix, they've been nowhere. So Ford need to buck up their ideas and get something going for them. But Berry, I mean, he got in a great win at Las Vegas last year, got himself into the playoffs, but then that first round was just awful. Finished last in 3 races and was immediately knocked out. And ever since then, it just hasn't really got going for him. So shame. Interesting to see what his next move will be. As he said, he only found out yesterday. So we are pretty fresh with this news ourselves, as all of us are. So yeah, going to be interesting to see what he does. I think if he can't get himself a decent Cup ride, he should focus on trying to get a ride in O'Reilly. Sorry, I had a brain fade there on championship name. If the rumours are to be believed that Justin Allgaier isn't going to be hanging around much longer, he's a great mate with Dale Jr. and would slide nicely into that 7 seat, perhaps, in the Grand National Series going forward. I think that might be his best bet for constant success rather than occasional top 5s and 10s like he's been getting in a Cup Series.
Yeah, it might just be better in that case as well, to try and prioritize the success as you mentioned. So that'll be something interesting to follow now across the rest of this year. A silly season very much begins and continues for NASCAR. Okay, now moving on to our third story swiftly. Now, according to Speed with Harvick and Buxton, the Repco Supercars Championship driver Matt Payne was set to make his NASCAR Cup Series debut in a few weeks at Sonoma Raceway until it got blocked. Allegedly, the plan was for Payne to drive a third Richard Childress Racing Chevrolet at Sonoma, the same team that previously fielded one-off entries for fellow supercar drivers Brody Kotesky and Will Brown. The whole situation got complicated because Payne drives a Ford for Penrite Racing in Supercars and wanted to drive a Chevrolet in NASCAR. For the last few months, it's been rumored that General Motors was interested in signing Payne since they're lacking star power in the Supercars driver lineup. With Payne being under contract with Penrite through the end of 2027 to the end of 2027 as a season, the team cited its alliance with Ford as the reason why Payne can't drive for a competing manufacturer. All graphics in this section are courtesy of Supercars. Now, this is the statement from Penrite Racing. As you can see, Penrite Racing confirms that it did not approve Matt Payne's request to participate in NASCAR race for General Motors. Matt is contracted to Groove Racing until the end of the 2027 season, and during that period he is not permitted to participate in any driving opportunities that conflict with his contractual obligations to Grove Racing. Grove Racing takes its commercial and technical relationship with Ford Racing seriously, and at no time would look to jeopardize that for one off NASCAR drive with a competing manufacturer. Matt has recently returned from a significant wrist injury. Grove Racing's priority is to ensure Matt is managed responsibly, protects his recovery, and remains fully focused on his commitments with the team. Matt is a central part of Grove Racing's program, and we do not consider it appropriate or commercially responsible to expose him to additional physical risk in an unfamiliar racing environment, particularly one that carries no direct benefit to Grove Racing's championships objectives. Grove Racing has invested heavily in Matt's development over the number of years and remains fully committed to him. Equally, we expect that commitment to be respected by all parties. Now, this is part 2 of the statement. We are also surprised that General Motors would look beyond its own substantial stable of talented supercar drivers in Australia and instead approach a contracted driver from a competing manufacturer. General Motors has access to a deep pool of capable Australian drivers with direct manufacturer alignment and the ability to represent its program without interfering with another team's contractual position. Given Matt has not previously raced in NASCAR or at the relevant circuit, it is difficult to understand why General Motors would seek to involve a contracted Grove Racing driver rather than one of its own aligned drivers. Now, this is what Payne management had to say. When a manufacturer like GM General Motors wants to place a driver at a top team like RCR in their top tier, this says a lot about how Matthew is regarded and speaks volumes about how they view supercars. For more information, please check out the link in the video description below. Does this whole situation indicate that Payne is destined for a new supercars team and manufacturer next season, despite being under contract for now? And will this incident damage his relationship with Penrite Racing and their ability to compete at the high level moving forward?
Interesting, isn't it? Because we've seen, obviously, SVG, and we've seen Will Brown and Brody Kostecki, as you said, only over the last couple of years, come over and do the odd cup race. But they were driving for the same manufacturer when they came across. Now, I was just thinking while you were reading through there, Brock Feeney last year hasn't done NASCAR as yet, and I mean yet, because it's probably going to happen at some point. But he, of course, ran in the IMSA Indianapolis the Brick 6 Hours last year in a Ford while being a Chevrolet driver in supercars before they've made the switch to Ford this year, and then ran in the Mustang at Bathurst in the 12-hour as a Ford driver. Although, of course, he didn't get in the car because we all know what happened to Chris Meese on the first couple of laps with the Kangaroo. So different teams do it in a different way. This I didn't expect to come out, especially in the way it has. And is it Grove and Penrite and Ford just trying to stop their guy from going and playing in another championship, or is it a play to try and keep him, or are they saying, well, he's going to go, but we are, exposing things that are going on behind the scenes? As you say, they've said you've got plenty of guys over there at the General Motors team, but as we were talking about before we went on air tonight, I don't really think they have. So, I mean, RCR have got enough on their plate also as it is at the moment, as we know, over the last couple of weeks to run a third car. So, yeah, very interesting situation. I don't think this is the last we've seen of this one over the next couple of weeks, let's say that. So, yeah, once Supercars touch down in the next round, perhaps we'll get some more news on this one. But yeah, very interesting situation going on behind the scenes, and we like a bit of intrigue from time to time.
Yeah, it's always fun when some little things are thrown into the mix as well. I can understand it regarding Matt Payne not driving at Sonoma. I think it's the safe option.
Just talking about Chris Bell, broken wrist, you don't want Matt Payne going over to Sonoma, having an accident and injuring himself and making not making the supercars, or making it difficult, let's say, for him to make the supercars finals, which is what they call their chase and or / playoffs, whatever you call it, different strokes for different folks. So yeah, that's the worst thing that could happen. And looks like Stephen Grove, Penrite and Ford have put their foot down fairly firmly on this, at least for the moment anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we've got more news coming up later on, but that's it for our main stories. Next up, Matt White has got the latest in terms of the grid EPI update.
We do indeed. Thank you, Romy. One race to tell you about from the weekend just gone. Now, while everyone was getting themselves prepared for Le Mans, which we've obviously talked about a lot about tonight on the show, there was another race going on, an actual race going on in France. That was at Paul Ricard at the weekend for the latest round of the 24H series powered by Michelin. And it was won by the Swiss team Hofer Racing in their Mercedes AMG. Alex Prinz, Torsten Kratz, Maxi Partel, and Michael Kroll, the winners at Paul Ricard over the weekend. So congratulations to them. The final round of the European section of the 24H series is in Barcelona at the end of the summer. Let's have a look at what's that's done to the EPI standings going into the big race at Le Mans this week. Well, absolutely nothing. And that is exactly how it was last week and will be very different coming out of Le Mans this week. Now, you can be sure about that. Show to Subai from Super GT continues to be at the top of the standings. And the top 50 is remaining completely unchanged from how it was last week as well. So week 10 and week 11, a mirror image on the grid EPI leaderboard. This weekend, we've talked about Le Mans, of course. There's also races for the GT World Challenge Australia and GT World Challenge USA, who are both in action this weekend. Great calendar clashing going on there. But it's going to be a busy week for spreadsheet land for me, getting all the points put together for the grid EPI slot for week 12 on the Grid Tonight show next week. More news and notes coming your way, and Kobe has got them for you now. He has. There he is.
Yeah. I actually forgot to put myself on the screen there. But here we are on some more motorsports news from around the world. IndyCar officiating technical director Kevin Rocket Blanche retired days before last weekend's race at Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway. The longtime IndyCar official, nicknamed Rocket, has been with the series since 2003 after winning 2 IndyCar titles, 11 races, and 5 poles as a crew chief at Panther Racing. In his role as technical director, Blanche oversaw the technical inspection process, provided technical oversight, and ensured that all the safety, aerodynamic, and chassis rules were being followed. Blanche will be replaced by Nick Allen, who previously served as Colton Hurtis crew chief at Andretti Global. Allen joined IndyCar officiating as technical inspection manager in January. In a statement, Blanche said he was thinking about retirement for a while, but when IndyCar officiating was formed last winter, he was asked to continue his role with a promise of working through the month of May and the Indianapolis 500. So now, after 3 decades of working in the IndyCar paddock, he feels like that this is now the right time to take a step back. Photo courtesy of Penske Entertainment. Christian Rasmussen will return to Ed Carpenter Racing next year in the NTT IndyCar Series. Rasmussen signed a multi-year contract extension to continue driving the number 21 Chevrolet in the 2027 season and beyond. He's been with ECR since 2024 and earned his first IndyCar win last year at the Milwaukee Mile. The start to his 2026 season has been challenging with a handful of disappointing results, but last Sunday night's race at Worldwide Technology Raceway was his best performance of the year. At third place finish for the short oval highlight reel driver. Rasmussen said he believes the future of the team is bright, and given the changes that they made in the last couple of years, he's confident in them reaching their full potential. Photo courtesy of at Carpenter Racing. Hendrick Motorsports awarded pit crew member Donovan Williams the Spirit Award for heroic actions last month at Dover Motor Speedway. During NASCAR All-Star Race weekend, a scary moment occurred when a pit cart that weighed around 4,000 pounds broke loose in the direction of Fox Sports pit road reporter Amanda Busick. Williams saw that Busick was in trouble, so in a split second, he rushed over to her and took the brunt of the impact as both of them fell to the ground. Busick escaped with only bumps and bruises, while Williams was taken to a local hospital to get treatment for a deep laceration and significant road rash to his hand. Williams said the entire process felt surreal because it was never his intention to be a hero by saving Busick's life, but he labeled his heroic act as just reacting to a sticky situation and felt thankful that it wasn't worse for all involved. Photo courtesy of Hendrick Motorsports. Aaron McLaren announced that Ryan Hunter-Reay will become the team's new sporting director. This comes after Hunter-Reay just competed in last month's Indianapolis 500 as the team's 4th driver. Hunter-Reay will serve as a bridge between competition, engineering, drivers, and commercial efforts. They'll also be able to contribute to optimizing car performance, race strategy, and driver development. Team principal Tony Kanaan said one of his best racing memories was working with Hunter-Reay in 2010 at Andretti Global because he played a key role in helping the team head in the right direction and build a group that could compete for a championship. Graphic courtesy of Arrow McLaren. Last Saturday, during a press conference at Michigan International Speedway, Richard Childress spoke publicly for the first time since the passing of two-time NASCAR Cup Series champion and RCR driver Kyle Busch. The RCR team owner said before Busch's unexpected passing, they intended for that particular press conference at Michigan last Saturday to be the site where they announced a contract extension to bring Busch back to the number 8 Chevrolet in 2027. Childress said Busch was feeling more confident about his future at RCR in the weeks leading up to his death, telling him that if the team gave him the type of cars he received in his final Cup races, he believed that there was an opportunity that he could will that number 8 Chevrolet to the postseason in the chase. Childress also confirmed that Austin Hill is set to be in the renumbered number 33 Chevrolet for the rest of the 2026 season instead of having a rotating lineup of drivers. He also said that the number 8 is reserved for Kyle's son, 11-year-old Buxton Busch. Richard emphasized that it's going to be available for him to use someday if he makes it to the Cup Series, whether he's driving for RCR or another team. Richard used the example that Buxton is a Hendrick driver at that point in his career, that he could take the number 8 to Hendrick Motorsports, so Buxton is not tied to RCR by any means. Photo taken by Kevin C. Cox from Getty Images. And here's a name I hadn't heard in a while. For the first time since 2020, Brendan Gaughan will return to NASCAR competition in a one-off. Gaughan will drive the number 20 Chevrolet Silverado for McAnally Hilgeman Racing at Naval Base Coronado in San Diego with sponsorship from South Point Hotel and Casino. His last time competing in the Truck Series was the 2013 season when he raced full-time for Richard Childress Racing. This entire truck deal for San Diego carries special meaning for Gaughan's previous, since Gaughan previously won 2 NASCAR Winston West Series championships in back-to-back years for team co-owner Bill McAnally, and now they get to work together again. Gaughan said he and McAnally have a lot of history together, lots of great memories, and believes this experience will be something that they'll be talking about for a long time. Graphic courtesy of McAnally Hilgeman Racing. And the FIA, Formula One, teams, and power unit manufacturers have come to an agreement to change the new F1 regulations for the 2027 and 2028 seasons. As everyone knows, Formula One drivers and fans alike have expressed frustrations with the current set of regulations. They've already made one change earlier this season, starting at the Miami Grand Prix, but they've decided to take further steps in the years ahead to address concerns about energy management, super clipping, yo-yo racing, all of the above. And I'm sure there's some other names out there that people have for this stuff. And the changes are intended to rebalance the internal combustion engine and energy recovery system you see right here on the chart. And you look where we are right now with max power. We're at 400 kilowatts. In 2027, that's going to go over to 420 kilowatts. And then in 2028, 450 kilowatts. And then the fuel flow next season in 2027 can increase by 5%. And then 2028, 13%. When we're looking at max power here, 350 kilowatts now, and then it's going to go up to 300 kilowatts in 2027 and 28. Yeah, but the max power overtake mode is going to remain the same. But when we're looking at max harvesting power, it's at 350 kilowatts this year. Next year, it's going to go up to 375 kilowatts. And then 2028, it's going to take an even bigger jump up to 400 kilowatts. And we're looking at the power split, of ICE and MG UK. Right now, the split between, your internal combustion engine and the energy management, it's 53% compared to 47%. And then 2028, being more of a focus on the internal combustion engine, 58% compared to 42%. And then it's going to be a 60-40 split in 2028. And it's going to be all our hopes that this will help improve the regulations and that the drivers and fans won't complain as much as they are right now. So we'll be watching 2027 and 2028 to see if the Formula One cars get back to being something that, the fans and drivers alike are really excited about. And unfortunately, we end, tonight with some sad news. Two-time NASCAR Cup Series champion and Hall of Famer Ned Jarrett passed away a few days ago at age 93. During his career, Jarrett won 50 races in the Cup Series and 2 titles in 1961 and 1965. Jarrett also holds the record for the most dominant victory in Cup Series history, winning the 1965 Southern 500 by a whopping number of 14 laps. I know we always say that records are meant to be broken, but given where we are in today's day and age in NASCAR, that's probably a record that will never be broken. That's a record that Ned Jarrett will hold forever. And his driving career ended after 352 career starts at age 34 after breaking his back in a crash at Greenville Pickens Speedway and Ford's temporary withdrawal from NASCAR. The Hall of Famer nicknamed Gentleman Ned was one of the first drivers to successfully transition from the driver's seat to the broadcast booth. He started his media career as a pit road reporter for MRN before moving into the broadcast booth during his 10 years with CBS and ESPN. And in the booth, he famously called his son Dale Jarrett winning the 1993 Daytona 500 by saying that it was the Dale and Dale show, and we all know which Dale that I'm cheering for. And yeah, that was one of the most memorable moments in NASCAR history from a broadcasting perspective when Ned Jarrett was able to call his son Dale Jarrett, battling the Intimidator Dale Earnhardt Sr. for the victory there. And in 1998, Ned Jarrett was named to the list of NASCAR's 50 greatest drivers of all time. And right here is a statement from NASCAR CEO Steve O'Donnell. He said, despite his calm demeanor, Gentleman Ned Jarrett was as fierce as a competitor as NASCAR has ever seen. His on-track accomplishments speak for themselves with wins and championships across several NASCAR divisions, but it was his off-the-track persona that separated Ned from his peers. He was as kind as his nickname indicated, and his endearing personality helped him excel in his second career as a broadcaster. Ned was an outstanding ambassador for the sport for more than 6 decades, and he will be dearly missed. On behalf of the France family and all of NASCAR, I offer my deepest condolences to all of Ned's family and friends on the loss of a NASCAR legend. And then the NASCAR Hall of Fame also put out a statement as well, which I'm going to pull up on the screen, make bigger. NASCAR Hall of Fame, on behalf of the executive director, Winston Kelly, said, on behalf of the NASCAR Hall of Fame team, I want to offer our sincere condolences to Ned's children, Glenn, Dale, and Patty, and all his family, known universally as Gentleman Ned for his kind, calm, and gracious off-track presence. Ned Jarrett was a tough competitor on the track and one of NASCAR's earliest superstars as a two-time NASCAR Cup Series champion with 50 Cup Series wins, along with 2 Sportsman Division titles. His retirement from driving at just 34 years of age opened a new chapter as a versatile and trusted broadcaster, the first former driver to take on such a role. His award-winning career included working for Universal Racing and Motor Racing radio networks and CBS, TNN, and ESPN television networks. He also served as a brand ambassador for several commercial products within NASCAR, coupling his accomplishments on the racetrack with his contributions to NASCAR and a wide range of endeavors off the track, resulted in Ned being one of the first 10 inductees into the NASCAR Hall of Fame in 2011. His truly gentleman nature and concern for others was never more than evident than when the first thing he told you on the day of his selection to the NASCAR Hall of Fame was, I want to make you and your team a good inductee. NASCAR and the NASCAR industry lost one of our most accomplished and versatile contributors to NASCAR's remarkable history and one of our staunchest and most active ambassadors of all time. Along with many others, we at the NASCAR Hall of Fame lost a cherished friend. Ned's remarkable legacy and accomplishments in and for NASCAR will live in our minds, our hearts, and archives of the NASCAR Hall of Fame forever. And on behalf of everyone here at the Grit Network, we want to extend our own deepest condolences to Ned Jarrett's family and friends during this difficult time, and may his memory be a blessing. Graphic courtesy of NASCAR. And now I'm going to turn over to Matt, close out our show with a little bit of hots and knots from the weekend.
Thank you, Kobe. Just a quick reminder that Pick a Winner are available on social media over the next couple of days, as we touched on with Lamont earlier. And we're all thinking of the Jarrett clan up there. It was apt, wasn't it, that the first race after his passing was won by Denny Hamlin in the 11 car at Michigan, where he also called his son to a race win in the Cup Series. Hots and knots to finish the show. I have a safety car rant prepared, but we'll park that just for the moment. What was hot from the weekend?
Right. Okay. Time to dig in deep to see What even happened over the weekend? Okay, so we had Monaco.
Yes. Antonelli again, imperious.
Yeah, absolutely extraordinary.
Good to see Hamilton back on the podium, I thought. And
Yeah.
he's now second in the championship, which is like all of a sudden.
It's all happened very quickly. All happened very quickly. So yeah, Antonelli is a hot, I'd say, from Monaco. Quickly to go over to F2 as well. I think
Yeah.
Nikola Solov continuing to prove
Yeah.
that he's very much the next talent that is going to be moving up.
Yeah, all of a sudden he kind of
Mm.
started very quietly in F3 and then was winning races, and then he's done the same in F2, which is really good to see. And it's always good to
Yeah,
see a driver from a different nation, I feel like, doing the
yeah.
business. So big for Bulgaria if he can get into the Grand Prix paddock. I mean, we have the Grand Prix of Sofia on our doorstep anytime soon.
Also, Brando Badoa had an absolutely terrible year last year, but was able to secure the feature race win when it came to Sunday. So that was a very great performance. And, he was with Prima last year, which had a big struggle. But then moving over to Rodin this year, started second, got the launch, and then very much had the win from there. So yeah, great job from him as well. And very much continuing to this year, I'd say, show the talent that he's got.
Hot from MotoGP was that Marc Marquez is back after his latest injury woes and won twice at the weekend at Benetton Park, including a tremendous battle with Pedro Acosta in the main race on Sunday. The not for MotoGP is Jorge Martin at it again at the first corner, wiping lots of people out like he did at Japan last year, including his teammate, and he did it again on Sunday. So not great, but expected at that car park of a racetrack.
Absolutely. British touring cars, Ash Sutton, race 2.
Oh.
biggest winning margin in 27 years when it came to the British Touring Car Championship. It was just unbelievable.
From 7th on the grid. It wasn't even if he was on the pole and sprint off into the distance. He had to come through the field at the start, and just him and that team and that car are more than a cut above everybody else at the moment.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. Trying to think if there's any other hots from the weekend. Oh yeah, Alex Brundle stepping in as well. Well done to him, taking over lead commentary for F2 over the weekend as well. Also well done to Kai Bacchini in that sense as well, of filling in for F3 on Sunday and also making his Porsche Super Cup debut over the weekend as well. So great to see those two out. And of course, we'd like to send our best wishes to Chris McCarthy in recovering as well. But he should be back this weekend, he has said. But he's been recovering all over this week so far.
Yes, back for Barcelona, of course, at the weekend. Adam is going with Kimi as hot. Bob Jenkins, Benny Parsons, and Ned Jarrett, 3 names you knew. ESPN had the NASCAR Cup Series. Absolutely, Adam. And yeah, that's a commentary box in the sky, isn't it? Glenn Jarrett also was a broadcaster as well. Can I get my safety car rant out of the way, please?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it. We've got quite a long list of knots, so.
Okay, I don't have that many really, apart from this. Again, it's not everyone gets a medal competition in Formula One. If you have gone a lap down, tough tits, we need to stop waving everybody past the safety car to get them back in the right order. It's quite easier, especially when there's a majority of the cars on the racetrack that are a lap down, as it was on Sunday, to just send them through the pit lane and let the cars on the lead lap all go past them and let them go to the back of the field. Why we have to keep giving people their laps back is beyond me. If you're slow, you're slow. Live with it. We just waste so much time in doing this stuff. Granted, Monaco's short circuit, but it's still. I watched the race Monday evening, and I sat there going, "Well, can we go now? Like, let's start." And then when they did start, of course, we had people off the back of the queue, not caught up. So just it needs looking at quite badly, because we just can't keep doing this when we go to somewhere like Spa, of course, one of the longest tracks on the calendar, or Austin, and we're doing this, and we then go and people aren't caught up. What's the point in sending them past if they're not going to wait until they've got? There's so many bad points about this whole safety car procedure in F1. I could go on for hours, but it is terrible, and again was proven to be bad, much like the surely from visuals, let's do this piece of resurfacing in April rather than doing it in September and letting it cure all winter and then putting the racing cars on it, because that worked really well, didn't it, on Sunday? And there was a radio call I heard today on social media from Sergio Perez on about lap 20 going, the track's a mess in the last corner, they need to sweep it. And then when he was told the safety car's out and Lance Stroll crashed, it was said, well, I told you, I've been telling you all day that was a problem. So poor old Charles Leclerc.
Yeah.
To do that at your home races, yeah, pretty awful.
It continues, sadly for him. So that's a big knot as well. I think the entire just FIA, just the entire side as well. We had lots of penalties incoming. Let's just say across the race. And it wasn't even just F1. We had the F3 winner changed closer to it being the feature race than it was the sprint race, which is where the disqualification came in for Yamakoshi. So, I mean, quite literally, the F2 drivers would have already been asleep because of how early they started the next day. So everyone would have woken up like a few hours away from the feature race, seeing, the winner's changed. Yeah. Look at this. The winner's changed of the race as well. So I think the entire FIA side of it wasn't the best, let's just say, across the weekend when it came to F1.
Yeah, the penalty stuff in the Grand Prix was silly, as England had just scored a third goal against Costa Rica. So, yeah. I don't know. Was there something wrong, or were their drivers cheating the time over distance speed conundrum on Sunday, or was there a thing wrong with the loop? Who knows? I probably will never find out. Mercedes and the whole George Russell penalty, did he serve it, did he not serve it situation was crazy. And I'm sure everyone that's kind of got half an idea of what's going on watched that live, and they went, well, he hasn't served that penalty, because they started touching the car immediately on that safety car pit stop. So, yeah, not a good day for that side of the garage at all for George, who, of course, then scored no points. And he said after Montreal it was all over. Well, if he thought that then, it certainly is now.
It is, yeah. It's all very much changing. And, well, we thought we'd get a bit of a good... well, we thought the complete opposite at the start of the year when it came to things. But I guess this championship has taken twists and turns, and well, it's now stopped taking twists and turns because it's very much just going one way. I mean, I felt like I had a long list of knots, and then they've all just disappeared out of all sides.
Happens every week to me and JB, I'm sure. One final knot. I rolled it out last week, and it will continue to be that we still haven't had an on-track pass for the lead in a Grand Prix at Monaco in the dry since 1980, because it didn't happen again at the weekend. And also, that's it for me. I'm not on the show now for the next live anyway, for 3 weeks, due to a certain football tournament that kicks off tomorrow. So I'm going to be missing doing this with you guys for the next few weeks for sure. And then once the group stage is over, I'll be back, because World Cup broadcasts over on USN are taking preference. If you haven't subscribed to the Ultimate Sports Media Network, please do, because we're doing 75% of this tournament, it seems like. So kicking off tomorrow with Mexico, South Africa, which is going to be excellent.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be weird not seeing you on the show. It feels like you're always here.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, between me and Kobe, we are always here. But yeah, football, and then I'm on holiday off the back of the. So yeah, it's going to be a nice. And with all these NASCAR night races, it's going to be a nice little break for sure coming up. But yeah, I will miss doing this on a Wednesday. But hopefully on Wednesday nights, I won't still be sat here watching a lightning delay of football matches, because that will be very tedious. But we'll see.
We shall see, indeed. And yeah, congratulations, by the way, on 1,000 subscribers over the weekend.
Last night. So we've raced to 1,000 on the Ultimate Sports Media Network subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed to Grid Network, obviously subscribe to us here, and then click over to the Ultimate Sports Media Network and subscribe there too. And of course to all of the many JBM channels, which there are now legion. I think I'm done.
Yeah, very, very much. I feel like all the knots just flew out of my head, and I don't think I'm going to recover them back in the next few minutes. So I think I'm done as well. I guess let's see what we're going to get at Le Mans. Let's hope it's an interesting contest. Once again, I guess are not being the clash that we've got this year, but I guess that's something for the future.
We talked about it with me and JB last week. So yes, Formula One and Le Mans should never clash, and it's happening within 400 miles of each other this week, which is just silly.
Yeah, I mean, it was somewhat bad last year, but this year is just ridiculous because the race is clashing. Last year was just qualifying. But yeah, I guess that is just the way. Okay, well, taking a look at our upcoming schedule then. Sunday Grid Live wrap-up 90 minutes after the NASCAR Cup Series race at Pocono Raceway. On Monday, we've got the Grid rising from 7:15 p.m. Eastern Time, recapping ARCA and the O'Reilly at Pocono, and Formula 2 and Formula 3 at Barcelona, plus other motorsport action. Please continue to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you liked what you saw tonight, you can send us a super chat to show your appreciation. We've now passed 1,800 subscribers. Help us reach our next milestone of 2,000 subscribers. Hit the bell icon to get notifications so you'll always know when we go on the air. Follow all our social media platforms and visit gridnetworktv.com. Take 5 minutes to invest in Grid Network through Patreon or YouTube channel membership. Join Colin, Mark, Deshelle, Robin, David, Matthew, Crystal, Nico, and our newest member, Gloria, who all invest each month in the Grid Network. We encourage you to join this group, this great group that keep us on the air all year long. Once we hit $500 per month, we can afford to send our team to the track more often and continue growing our media outlet. Link in the video description. If you want to make a one-time donation, click on the Buy Me a Coffee link, get your name on the board, invest as much as you want, and consider buying your favorite on-air personality a cup of coffee, and they'll thank you on the air. For Kobe Lambert and Matt White from Grid Endurance Performance Index, I'm Ermi from JB Motorsports. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Come on, England.